Nate's cupcakes. And then he got a cake baked for him.
Because Uncle Auntie made that.
Uncle Auntie.
Aunt.
And Grandpa and Grandma Michelle got Nate some Legos.
You die. No, I'm gonna kill you first.
Look at my kitty sweater, isn't it cool? It lights up. Look at that. Isn't that fun? It's a kitty sweater. Okay. I think enough of me being a dork right now. If I can shut this thing off. There we go. Now it's just a regular kitty sweater again. So, a couple years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, maybe less, maybe more, I don't know. I decided to try the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, which I think I read a couple books that was actually on my TBR. So, coming up this next year, I am going to try it once again. So, these are some of the challenges for Pop Sugar 2019. A book becoming a movie in 2019. So, if you guys know any good books that you've read that are turning into movies, obviously I'm probably going to look this up and everything, but if you have any recommendations, throw them my way. A book that makes you nostalgic. See, no, some of these challenges here kind of make me question things. Like, nostalgic in what way? Like, a book you've read before that you're going to read again. And, you know, obviously you liked it, it's got memories, it's nostalgic. Or a book set maybe in the time period of your childhood. Or any time you were younger. Or reminds you of some type of date. That's the question. What do they mean? A book written by a musician. So, I read on the other side that this is supposed to be fiction or non-fiction. And somewhere I have a book of poetry and stuff by Joel, which I still have yet to read. A book you think should be turned into a movie. Now, this one, this is a little weird, or, you know, it's kind of hard to think of, because this is a reading challenge. So, you really can't know if you think a book should be turned into a movie until you've read the book. So, you can read 100 books in a year and maybe not think that any of them should be turned into movies. I know this challenge has talked about, it has at least one reread in here. But when do you decide the movie aspect? Is it rereading a book? Is it halfway through the new book? Or is it just based on synopsis? Alright, continuing on with the video. The next one is a book with at least 1 million ratings on Goodreads. So that one should be easy. You honestly probably could just look to BookTube for that kind of thing. And I realize that I have to scroll down. So you guys are going to get a little wobbly here. A book with a plant in the title or on the cover. So, are we including flowers in that one? Because I notice flower names tend to come up a lot. And so, can it be a name if we're talking about a flower? Or does it have to be strictly plant-based? I don't know, what do you guys think? because I want to read Briar Rose by Jane Yolen, and I want to read Lily and the Octopus. The next one is a reread of your favorite book. Of a favorite book. So I want to reread Speak. I wanted to reread that one this year, but I didn't get around to it. I have the graphic novel of it, so I may even do a different type of reread and read the graphic novel, which I think is pretty much the same, just in graphic novel form. This year I had reread The Hunger Games and Mockingjay, which oddly enough is the first and last book, and I kind of skipped over the middle, so I may reread Catching Fire this year coming up. A book about a hobby. Is there any fiction books that are strictly about hobbies? I'm sure there is, but I don't know. I'm not sure of this one here and what I'm going to find. Number 9 is a book you meant to read in 2018, and I have a list. I wanted to read The Bells, I wanted to read Ready Player One, wanted to read Miss Peregrine's, the second book in The Maze Runner. Then there is a book with Pop, Sugar, or Challenge in the title. And this one's going to be kind of hard because I was trying to look that up, and I'm not sure if I've seen anything that caught my eye, so if you have recommendations. A book with an item of clothing or accessory on the cover. So, does this mean just the clothing? Or can we count people wearing them? Because there's a lot of books with people on the cover. And obviously they have clothes. A book inspired by mythology, legend, or folklore. Which, again, this could cover quite a bit. Continuing on as my brother gets cake here. So, inspired by, does that mean that it can only be inspired by, or can it have actual mythological creatures and such in the actual book itself? So, I know A Court of Thorns Roses is slightly based on the Beauty and the Beast tale, from what I know. And I think one of the books in that series, I don't know if it's the second one or the third one, is supposed to be loosely based on the Hades and Persephone myth. And I don't know if they... Careful, Michael. That's the new pan.
No.
It's not mine.
That's what I'm at.
Be very careful. I don't know how much of that is actually in the book, because obviously I've never read it, but I'd be curious to know. And then, of course, there's Percy Jackson. A book you've seen someone else reading in a TV or movie. There's quite a bit of that, I think. A retelling of a classic. I know there's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but I feel I need to read Pride and Prejudice first. So I will probably read both of those. A book with a question in the title. I feel like I've seen this before, and now I can't think of a damn book. A book published. Is that posthumously? What the hell is that supposed to mean? Okay, so I guess what that is supposed to mean is the book was basically published, or at least became popular, after the person has passed away. Which is kind of sad. A book set on a college or a university campus? I think a lot of new adult books are like that, right? Isn't there a book by Rainbow Rowell that is, I'm getting way too close, guys, set in like a university or something? Was that Fangirl? I've heard very mixed things about that, but I was liking Eleanor and Park, so maybe I'll try that one. A book about someone with a superpower. Can we include manga on this one? Because I can just finish out Sailor Moon for that one. A book told from multiple character points of view. I believe the Fifth Wave has that, and I want to read that. A book set in space. Well, we know there's quite a few of those, so. A book by two female authors. Now, I was looking this up and I was asking people about this. There's quite a lack of this kind of thing. A book with a title that contains salty, sweet, bitter, or spicy. I have a feeling I can find at least one of these. A book set in Scandinavia. I wonder if that can be any genre. A debut novel. So I was kind of debating whether or not I should save this for the challenge, because it's fairly thin, and I don't know if I want to start it or if I want to, you know, save it. I have a feeling I can double up on some of these challenges. A book recommended by a celebrity you admire. I don't know if there's anybody I really admire, but, you know, if they have a good suggestion. A book with love in the title. Again, I'm sure I can find something with that. Especially in contemporary, especially looking through BookTube. A book that takes place in a single day. I think there's a few of those that I've heard on BookTube and in other places. Amateur Detective, a book about a family. So, just about the family, or does the family play a big role? I don't know, I guess a lot of this is for us to decide. A book written by an author from Asia, Africa, or South America. I could definitely think of a few of those that I want to read, or even reread, because as much as I like it, I have not yet reread Battle Royale. A book with a zodiac sign or astrology term in the title. I am writing a book that deals with zodiacs, but reading your own stuff don't count. Book includes a wedding. I don't know about that. Some of the stuff seems very romantic-like, and there's nothing really wrong with that. But it's definitely going to be a challenge to find books that I like. Then there's a ghost story, which there's a lot of good ones for that, and I want to read more adult, and I want to get more into like horror and that kind of stuff. A book by an author whose first and last name start with the same letter. And I just talked about Rainbow Rowell. That was like the first one that came to mind, and I honestly can't think of anyone else. But I know they're out there, and I know as soon as this video is done, I'm going to think of it. A book with a 2-word title. I've been hearing a lot of stuff about Bird Box. I might check that one out. And again, I know as soon as this is done, I'm going to think of them. I'm going to think of like of a whole list of stuff. A book revolving around a puzzle or game. Again, if you want to count Catching Fire. Here's the advanced ones. A cli-fi book, which is, I guess, climate fiction, which wouldn't that just be science fiction? An own voices book. That one's going to take research because not everything that's written about a certain type of person or group is always by a person within that group. Read a book during the season it is set in. So, well, I mean, that's for the whole year. So I guess there's a lot of books. But again, I feel that that would probably be a very contemporary thing, and I would find a lot of summer books. A choose your own adventure book. Do you guys remember, like, Goosebumps did that? That was never my favorite. Like, I loved Goosebumps, but that wasn't my favorite. A book with no chapters, unusual chapter headings, or unconventionally numbered chapters. So, there's a possibility that I may give this book another chance. Yes, despite the fact that this is my least favorite book by him. I got this because I like the shiny cover, and I'm just a weird person like that. I didn't hate this book, but I had issues with it. This is Looking for Alaska, so I may reread this one. Even though I disliked a lot of it in some ways, I also liked a lot of it. A book that has inspired a common phrase or idiom. So, I had finished up 1984, and I want to have to do some research on books that have kind of contributed to phrases. And the last one is a book set in abbey, monastery, or convent, or anything like that. And that definitely has to be adult, contemporary, or anything like that. So, out of this whole challenge, I feel that I can do the own voices, the one from Africa, South America, or Asia. A book, oh, I almost forgot this one. A book featuring an extinct or imaginary character or creature. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to count Harry Potter for that kind of stuff, okay? I will probably be reading Harry Potter. Because that will definitely cover that one. Then there is a book published in 2019. So I know Poland Banana's books, Christine, she wrote a book, and I don't know if that's been published yet. I know ARCs were out, but I think that actually comes out next year. So I may check that out. Some writes in the book. That is my working title right there. And I am on Google Docs, and I have about 8 pages done. This was my nano project. I didn't get very far, not at all.